This is Scott Ryder, and you are watching the Codec.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Codec. Today we are shooting a very special episode on a Wednesday. I know normally we're on Fridays, guys, don't worry, but today it's a special episode. We have Tom Taylorson on from Mass Effect Andromeda and Octodad. Welcome to the show, Tom. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me. Thanks for adjusting for the schedule and the insanity. I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem, man. I'm also joined by a very special co-host today, somebody who's not been on our show before, but has seen one or two of our interviews with some of the Mass Effect team members. We've got Tucker from MassEffectFollower. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I've got a little bit of a cold, maybe something, sore throat, something. So if I'm a little scratchy and I'm chewing on this cough drop, I hope you guys can bear with me there. I'll try and keep it as decent as possible. So let's start off by just for anybody who might not know your work, Tom, may not have played one of the games that you're in. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you kind of got started into the VO industry.
Well, I am from the Midwest originally, grew up in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, and went to university in Illinois, and then moved to Chicago to try to be an actor. And over the course of my time there in Chicago doing stage and pretty much anything I could get my hands on work-wise, I stumbled into doing voice acting, and it slowly started just taking over. And there were lots of kind of hints and tips along the way that said, hey, you should be doing this, you should take this a little more seriously. But I kind of ignored them until until a number of years ago, and finally just went all in on it. And I have been working as a voice actor in Chicago. I forget how long now, but that's been my only job, has been voice acting. Really? And teaching voice acting, and yeah. And then about what is it now? It's about a year and a half ago. I picked up with my family and moved to Los Angeles. And so we've been here a year and a half now. And in that time, I got the Mass Effect job, and I've been doing that and audiobooks as usual, and anything else that I can do. Just kind of, rebooting and resetting after the move.
Right. It's a big
but
move.
In Chicago, I had kind of done it. I worked as a performer, as an actor, and had like a little house and a yard and dog and kids and and a wife and a family.
Is this your dog, the one you have on your profile picture?
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
No, the profile picture in Skype, that is the original dog. That's Ty. He's no longer with us.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was years ago, but no, he's a an American Eskimo, or used to be called Spitz. Yeah.
That's unique.
Yeah, he was wonderful, wonderful dog. And I'd done it, right? I did the thing. I'm working as a performer and have family. Well, let's take that whole family. Let's throw that. Let's just upend the whole thing and move to California, right? But it was for work for my wife as well as for myself and things like that. And so it was. It's been a tough transition and a lot of work, obviously, but we're doing okay. We are doing okay.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, thanks.
And I've got to say, just when you were kind of explaining that, you definitely fit in this field, this VO field. It sounded like you were pitching a sitcom there.
No.
So you've definitely got the chops for it. Tucker, being my new co-host here, Tucker, I'm going to let you go ahead and take the next question for Tom.
Yeah.
So what were auditions like when you went to BioWare and auditioned for the role of male Ryder? What was that like?
I didn't go to BioWare.
Oh, you didn't?
No, they're in Edmonton, Canada, the primary team. An audition comes through from my agent here out in Los Angeles, the fine folks at TGMD, and they emailed me a bunch of parts. There was, I forget how many roles there were, and they just said, here you go. And I just auditioned for anything I could. Okay. And I was here in the booth that I'm speaking to you from and I just took a good swing at all of them and sent them in.
So you didn't apply specifically for male Ryder?
No. You audition for anything you can get your hands on. And then
Go
they
big.
say, yeah, we agree with that version. You kind of go into every audition. Yeah. You go into every audition that way, which is, this is my version of your show, or my version of your commercial, or your character, whatever it is. Does that agree with yours? Should we play together?
Right.
And if that is an agreement, and there are other factors too, but I think that's the most kind of palatable to to an actor's mind, is that you come in, you throw down, and you just bring your A game. And if they agree with that A game and say, yeah, that sounds like our show, then it goes from there. Right.
And that's something I hear a lot. Tucker, being new to the show, probably hasn't heard that very often, but I interview a voice actor every week, and then we're in our second year, so however many voice actors that is. We hear that a lot, that you guys get a lot of auditions and a lot of scripts, and a lot of times you don't even know really what you're auditioning for. It's kind of usually with a code name or something like that. Is that kind of how this was? Did you get a code name for Andromeda at the time? Did they call it something different?
Oh yeah. And the checks still process with the code name, because it was all entered with that code name.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
So, oh yeah, the whole thing, top to bottom, still has the code name attached, even though I know what it is, and everybody knows what it is. But when it originally came through, I had auditioned for BioWare projects back when I was in Chicago, and I've seen what their scripts look like. Right. And so with that in mind, there were descriptors and characters, as well as just hints in the dialogue that they had sent out, and the fact that it said copyright, EA BioWare at the bottom. I knew exactly what the script was from and what it was for, and what race all of these characters were.
That's funny.
And so I came in is two things. First, kind of cheating. You don't need that information, but sometimes it helps, because I know the world, the universe. We can speak in a shorthand. But then at the same time I went, okay, this is Mass Effect. This is Mass Effect. Okay, shut up. Shut that down. Shut those thoughts down.
Right.
Shut those very awesome thoughts down and go to work.
That's really funny. I hear a lot of parallels between you and Mark Meer when he first got his role there in Mass Effect. And I think, Tucker, maybe you'll be able to spot this, but Tom sounds very similar to the guy that reads off the lore stuff in the Mass
Effect.
Effect
Codex entries?
Yes. Doesn't he sound very similar to that guy?
He does. That's what I was kind of thinking of.
So you haven't been in any other Mass Effect games, Tom, have you? You're not the guy that reads the Codec entries.
No, that is I'm blanking, and I know him because I basically grew up watching his work, because he was around in the 80s doing whatchamacallit.
He was around the games before, correct?
Yes. Oh, I know you're talking about.
Yeah, okay. Very cool.
I know.
Well, if it pops up into your head, let us know. As far as our next question, Tucker, you've got the next question.
Neil Ross.
Neil Ross.
I'll
have to look him up.
No, he was part of the animation boom in the 80s.
Okay.
So he did guys for G.I. Joe, things for Transformers, the original runs back in the 80s.
Yeah.
So I knew his work and listened to him for forever, and I loved his work on the codexes for the trilogy, and I would sit and listen to them.
Oh yeah, me too. Me too.
He's great.
It's very nice to listen to, especially when you're trying to find information for videos and whatnot you're listening through.
Mm-hmm.
But so how does it feel to go from an octopus father to a pathfinder in the Andromeda universe?
It's been great. Octodad was and still is a very special project.
Right.
I had first worked with those guys as Octodad when it was a student game at DePaul University, and then it went to the Independent Game Festival, and they were nominated in the student category and whatnot. And that game, as a student work, did very, very, very well. And so they came out and they decided, hey, we're a small team and we're going to develop this thing. And when they put together the Kickstarter, they got it all going, and I was following them and their story. They reached out to me and said, "We kind of feel it's important to have you back as
That's cool.
as Octodad and the sushi chef and things like that. Would you want to do that?" And I said, "Yeah." And then I said, "By the way, the woman that played Scarlett, the wife, she's still here in Chicago. I can put you in touch with her. And she's even better than when you worked with her a few years ago." That's Anne Sonneville. She's in Chicago. She's a wonderful, wonderful actress and voice actress. I miss her. She's good people. So they brought me in, and then later on, of course, they brought Frida in. And so, to tie Octodad into Mass Effect, the fact that Frida and I knew each other from Octodad before Mass Effect, that was an amazing
so crazy
bit
to
of,
me. That was so crazy.
amazing bit of serendipity, and an absolute treat, because not being able to talk about it for the last over a year has been challenging, but having kind of Frida along as the secret friend we can talk to about this whole thing has been very good. So Octodad was a very, very special project, obviously, and there's a little bit of street cred from Octodad, right? But there was definitely like that, tweet that I put out there a long time ago. Everybody's going, "Yay, Clancy Brown!" and "Yay, Frida Wolf!" Who? Who's this guy? Even after I had a career that I'd built in Chicago, and I'd had other video games before. I'd worked on Dao Fang, the Fist of Lotus for the original Xbox, and Conduit, and Mortal Kombat Armageddon, and I did some background characters for Watch Dogs, things like that. Just if there was a video game in town, I was very fortunate to be a part of most of them. But yeah, then this kind of out of the blue, it was definitely, well, not out of the blue, but I auditioned for it.
Right.
But to have it happened, and I had only been in town, I hadn't even been in town 3 months, and that dropped. So it was, it's been pretty fantastic.
Awesome. Well,
please tell me there's an Octodad reference or something in Andromeda.
So far as I know, no.
Not a single line of.
No, I know, right?
That would have been great.
And there's a little. I know there's nothing I can think of, unfortunately.
No problem.
That's up to the writers. They put stuff on a screen, and I read it off.
Okay. Well, my question for you is actually a little bit about that. So we've had Mark Meer on the show before, and a lot of other characters from the original Mass Effect. And so my question to you is, when I talked to Mark, we asked him about how do you become Commander Shepard? How did you get your voice pitch and where you thought it should be? And he had a commander's background there, so he just kind of elevated it, added some bravado. When you're doing Ryder, who's kind of a blank slate, he's not kind of pre-established like Shepard was throughout the galaxy as being this commando and this guy that's really good at his job. You're this fresh new Pathfinder going to this new galaxy. How did you come up with how exactly Ryder was going to sound? And was it mostly you, or was it a combination of you and the director?
It was mostly me. I came in with what I did from the audition, because that's what they liked, obviously.
Right. Okay.
And then with that, the director then says, tells me more about the character, and I get more of the words, and it goes from there. But my thought process for the original audition, after auditioning for, I don't think I'm saying anything out of turn by this, but like auditioning for like Turians and Krogans and just, everything else that they listed there. All right, okay, here's a dude. And, it seemed like, okay, there's some science background and something or other. And it just seemed very normal to me compared to everything else. It's like, okay, play it as normal and real as possible, as all of this should be. And then I was looking through it too, and just the feel of the scene and where it was going, I thought, I got to get some humor in there. There's something funny
Right.
here in this, and I don't know if it's him laughing at the situation or kind of being cavalier with not a commander's bravado, but a kind of devil-may-care youth.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, yeah. And then what he's doing is he turns around and he grabs his helmet or whatever and starts walking away. And then that guy says, but don't do this, or be careful of this. And he says, yeah, well, and what if we don't hear from you? He says, well, then don't wait up for me. Something like that. And I thought,
Okay.
I knew how that scene should kind of move, and I was like, okay, I know this. There's so many
Yeah.
like machinations in my head as to how the scene worked and what I would. But I knew one of the specific things I thought about was there should be like a laugh or something funny. This isn't totally serious. There's an element of fun here. And then, funnily enough, as we've gone through the process of working on the game, that is one of the things that they've kind of talked about tonally, is that the game is a little funnier. This is a younger group
Right.
of people adventuring. And as much as I have the kind of imposter syndrome throughout the whole thing, like, this is not happening to me. I'm not supposed to be here. This is supposed to be this is supposed to be done by a professional voice actor. I realized that kind of back early in the process, I'd had some of what they were thinking in mind.
Okay.
My version of the play matched up with their version of the play, and it's worked out. And then once I started to work with Caroline Livingstone and everybody else there at BioWare and the directors we've had and the wonderful, wonderful writers, everything else started falling into place too.
Right.
They bring a lot to it. There's so many people that make Ryder exist. I'm just a voice monkey. I do my thing. I have my job, but there are, scores of writers and animators and people like that. And the more I got from them, I fed into it, and then I follow them on Twitter, and they say to me, "Oh, when your stuff comes back, it makes this stuff work." And I'm thinking, "Yay!"
Good, right?
Because I love what I'm getting from you guys, and these scenes are written so well. So it's been, So that's kind of the science of the project. Like I said, I could just go on for that one audition, and then I had like 5 or 6 that night.
Okay.
From just that project. So that kind of thought process, comes spewing out for each one of these things, and you just go to work.
Okay, very cool. Tucker, your next question for Tom.
So something I was wondering about is, how does it feel to play a game where you hear your voice as the character that you're controlling? And that isn't just for Mass Effect Andromeda, but for the other ones as well.
It's okay. I still have it was one thing to kind of find myself in Watch Dogs,
right?
And in previous games like Hunter the Reckoning or Mortal Kombat, I was a villain, so it was like, oh, okay, I run into me, and it's okay. Octodad, of course, you control Octodad, and I kind of remember the sessions and putting some of that stuff together. And then you'd hear me and Frida peppered throughout as the random people, and then sushi chef, and every now and then it'd be that could have gone better. That line probably could have been said differently. Oh, you know what? That probably and you just kind of throw it away. So this is going to be a real test of my resolve.
Right. I bet.
To deal with that for a full playthrough. So I'm definitely playing as Sarah Ryder first. Because I will just listen to my work as work and go, no, that's the one you guys chose? Okay. Because there's a better way to, but you gotta, at some point you have to kind of trust the process, that there are lots of people listening to all of this throughout the course of the creation of the game. And they have their say too. And, they're not going to want to put out garbage. And so it probably falls into a pretty good neighborhood of where that performance should live.
Okay.
And even if I don't agree, it's not necessarily my performance at that point. It's my performance and their editing and choices and things like that make the whole thing. It's an amazing collaborative effort in that way.
Definitely.
So you have, I was gonna say, so you haven't played much of Andromeda yet, have you? Or?
Nope, not played a thing.
Oh wow.
Yeah, as I've said before, in discussions with other people, when you guys see new stuff, that's when we see new stuff. Every now and then we will have to, dub over something that was previously done, or we see some animation that we have to match to, put some breathing sounds in, and oh look, that's what Vetra looks like, or something like that. But most of the time, when you see like the gameplay trailer, or when even as early back as the 4K trailer during the PlayStation Pro reveal, that was the first time we'd seen any of that stuff. And there were a couple times there have definitely been, oh, that's evolved. Okay, I want to go back and redo those scenes because nope, done. And there's been a lot of that thing. Okay, I want to read. Nope, you don't get to redo it. It's already done.
Yeah.
Or somebody else will find it if they don't think it works. So yeah, there's very little that we get before you guys see it.
Right. And a lot of people don't realize that voice actors really get the short end of the stick when it comes to information. A lot of times, most famously on our show, we had Quentin Flynn on. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He voiced Ryder in Metal Gear Solid. He was describing a character to us that he had done, and he was being very particular, very careful, because he thought he was still under NDA. But the game had already released, and nobody had told him that the game was even out yet. So he was describing us a character that we already knew about and had played with a couple of times, and it's a shame that they don't give you guys at least a little bit more information on like what you're doing, or things like that. Did you have concept art at least to look at when you were doing
for a reference?
Yeah.
No,
nothing.
No.
You said. Luckily, you have played the other ones, right? So you had a little bit of something.
That is the cheat that I kind of brought to the project, and I think that I've kind of been able to bring to all of my video game work, which is the fact that I'm a gamer too. So I've played all this stuff. I mean, I remember years ago working on Hunter the Reckoning, which was out on the GameCube first or something like that. The 4-player brawler set in the World of Darkness books. And I was playing a vampire, one of the bosses. And so the creative director, who's also directing the dialogue and everything, brings me in, and I'm a kid, I'm 20, whatever, and playing this, age vampire, whatever. And I'm coming in, I introduce myself, and I'm looking at everything like there at the high voltage offices, and he says, so, are you, and he's being very meek about it, I don't know why. He said, are you familiar with the World of Darkness Hunter properties? And I said, oh yeah, absolutely. I played I played a little bit of werewolf, and I know for a fact that I played some mage, and then definitely a little vampire the masquerade back when I was at university.
Okay.
And he went, oh, okay, perfect, awesome. Okay, so your character, he's a typical Ventru, and he just starts riffing on everything, talking in the universe of the game. So we had that shorthand.
Right.
And then later on the day, he said, I need some jumping sounds. It's kind of and I said, go, just roll.
Yeah.
I know what you're looking for. I've played the games.
Very cool.
I'm right there with you guys. And so that has been with me the whole time. When they say, we need this, I'm like, okay, because I'm kind of standing on the shoulders of the giants who kind of invented this audio shorthand we have for video games, back in the 90s and early 2000s. The people that were kind of creating these soundscapes and whatnot back then, we know what these things sound like. We know what certain kinds of hits and things sound like. And then from doing stage combat, a lot of it, when I was doing theater, I had a sense of, okay, a punch is like this, and this feels like this. You get that kinesthetic feel of, how certain injuries or exertions might feel.
Okay.
So, being a nerd and being able to talk to everybody on that nerd level was wonderful. Now, that's not necessary at all. Of
course.
If somebody says to me, a Krogan approaches, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know how the
they're
scene
intimidating and big.
Yeah. I know what they look like. I get the feel for them, the sound, the general idea of what a Krogan is. All you have to do is replace that with the biggest guy you've ever seen. You know what I mean? And any other actor can pick up and go with that.
Right.
Early on, working with Caroline Livingstone, it was the same thing. She had said, "So, this is. Oh wait, you've played all of them. I don't need to explain this to you." And then she would just give me the shorthand version, and we'd go into the scene. And that's been kind of a repeated thing. It's like, you don't have to. No, Caroline, I played the games top to bottom, all the DLC, and I even sat there and listened to and read the Codex. I'm right here with you. I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
That's awesome.
Tucker, you've got the next question.
All right. Let's see. Who was your favorite character to hear when recording scenes?
That's personal, right? That's not NDA breaking. I don't.
Yeah, that's just like who's like, was it PB? Was it hearing Sarah Ryder? Like, of the characters that we know. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
That's a good way to get around it.
Yeah. No, I always loved hearing Frida because, and believe me, you're gonna want to play through as both of us. Some of those plot points, kind of remain the same, but because both of these characters exist while the other one exists, they're not an either or like Commander
Right.
Shepard was. They have gone out of their way to make sure that Scott and Sarah are different. And Frida does stuff and comes up with choices that I never would have come up with. and I love hearing that. And that's just, we have different acting backgrounds and different personalities, things like that. And so there's just instinctive choices that she's going to come up with that I'm never going to come up with. Of course, I loved hearing PB. She's killing it. I said it before her name was revealed and everything to everybody. She is killing it. And so that's a treat every time that comes up. But honestly, you know what? Anytime I heard anybody was awesome.
Yeah.
Because so often it was just, my engineer or my director reading the preceding line to me and then me reacting to that. So if you actually had somebody else's performance in the can already, oh, that's perfect. Because they would just hit play on that. I'd react right from there. They'd hit the next line, and we just boom, 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 all the way through.
Right. And that's something I heard a lot from when we talked to Mark, since he had so much dialogue, and I'm assuming Jennifer Hale was the same way. A lot of times they would have the other stuff already recorded, since they can knock that out much quicker. Was that the same for Andromeda? Did you get a couple of chances to really get on a roll where you're hearing other stuff and then reacting, or did your role kind of take precedence?
A little bit of both, because we were recording internationally and sporadically. There were times when it was just Ryder and
Right.
you go. There were times when things just weren't cast yet, or they were waiting on casting because of something else. So it's just Ryder. The other time, you would have somebody, and it's not even, some main character would be missing in a scene, but Merchant number 4, they got that.
Right.
That's in the can, and that's just because they had that person in.
Yeah.
They rattled off their stuff because not everybody is available at all times. But Frida and I are. So, that's the nature of our job at this point in these roles. So we would come in and knock out a bunch of stuff, and sometimes we would work right up to what had been written. There was more to come, but they hadn't written any more Ryder lines at that point.
Okay.
And so you'd wait until more lines came in, and then it's sporadic, and you never really know. But yes, when you do get it, and not to downplay the read-ins I got from my directors, who are wonderful.
Of course.
But you get that other person, and it just flows. It really, really flows.
Now, did you find... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And I can only hope that when those other people got my work, even if my work was mostly just asking them questions, I hope they felt similarly inspired, or at least properly motivated.
Okay, very cool.
All right.
Well, can you tell me about? I asked Frida this question, and I wanted to send that over to you as well. How difficult, being that most of the games you have played, roles in up until this point, were very like designed, like with Octodad, all of the script is written out right here, or when you're doing background voices for like Watch Dogs and things like that, these are the lines that you're given. When you're doing Mass Effect and you have branching dialogue, with each branching dialogue option having different emotional kind of ties based on how you want your character to play, how tough was that for you to kind of grasp in your concept in the booth, or did you kind of have an upper hand since you had played some of the Mass Effects before?
Well, really, you've got lots of, you've got other people there watching out for you, like the directors, and you just pick up on that pretty quickly. You'll get to the bottom of the script, and then it looks like, oh, wait a minute, we got that feed line. Oh, right, this is the new path, and it's, a couple pieces of dialogue following that new idea. And you kind of get into it relatively quickly. But with that, I will say that that's fun. That is an absolute treat. It gives you an opportunity to explore all these different facets of the character that if you just went through and had a top to bottom, A to B script, something simple like that, you wouldn't get to play with. And it winds up, I think, informing future work as Scott Ryder.
Okay.
Because I know all of these different facets of his personality. So I know how he's going to respond to this situation or how this is. And then you ask, well, wait, when is it in the game? Oh, okay. Because that is going to change. How has he grown?
That's important. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. And, that's going to change how things roll. How far along is it in this relationship? Where is this? And just getting to do all of that is a treat. It's a great acting exercise.
Right.
And just a lot of fun to do. The only thing I can liken it to in some ways, working on this would be like having a TV show or a sitcom, which I've never done. But as of right now, like I looked at the number of hours that I've spent playing the role of Scott Ryder. And even if I count up I want to say 10 to 12, 10 or 12 books that I have read as a particular character, by the name of Joe Gunther, this series of novels that I've been working on.
Okay.
That's like 8 to 10, sometimes more hours of audio per book.
Right.
Over the course of the last 3 years, I have spent in less than a third of that time more time as Scott Ryder than these characters in these books.
Yeah.
And that's a treat. Definitely. That's an absolute party. I've never had that kind of depth with something in theater days, things like that. To spend that kind of time, it's pretty cool.
Definitely. I'm really glad you answered the question that way, because I think really, and Tucker, you can chime in at the end of this as well if you'd like, but I think really one of the big things that I felt kind of was missing in the original Mass Effect, and it's no fault to the writers or the voice actors themselves. I think it was just the time we were at, but a lot of times there was issues of like things that would happen in the story wouldn't necessarily be conveyed in the attitude that was being given, like almost like the character didn't remember things happening. So I think it's important, like you said, now that you've really kind of become the Ryder character, his personality, and you were actively thinking about the way that certain situations change how he sounds with this branching dialogue. I think that's going to be a real treat to kind of see a character that kind of almost emotionally acts to the things that are going on around him.
And I hope that comes across, because that's something that I will say was we all were as the team, and this was like the direction handed down from up on high, was to be cognizant of that, because they were writing it in a certain way, and this was, as I think the game's director and everybody has said, is that that Mac has said that this is more of a not coming of age, but a growing into a role story, versus the what was it, the hero that becomes a legend. These people aren't heroes yet. They are nothing. They're adventurers, they're explorers, and even the team. It's a younger team, and we're all kind of growing into these roles. So that idea of everybody growing in to
That's awesome to hear.
To their roles was a big thing. As Mac has said in his interviews, he's like, this was a big thing for our story and a push, and it came through in what was written and how we were directed, and it was wonderful to play. Again, it gives another little bit of intellectual exercise to the work, which I love.
Awesome. Tucker, go ahead.
I am curious because of how you're saying that you really got to know the male Ryder and everything like that. I was wondering, do you know how long or how many lines of dialogue that there are, or just how extensive that was?
Yes, but I do not have a final count.
Give us an
estimate. Got a rough estimate?
Maybe time-wise, would that be a little easier?
Yeah, like how many times do you have to go to the studio to keep recording, like time-wise then?
A lot. I mean, I would do like 1 or 2 sessions in a month, and then nothing, and then 2 or 3 more, another month, and then suddenly, we need you like 4 days this week.
Nice.
And the past few months, coming into N7 Day and beyond and everything like that, has been that kind of, we need you for 2 days this week, 3 days this week, 4 days this week.
So really ramping it up.
Yeah. As everything was falling into place, we were matching and fixing and all sorts of things, and we're still not done yet. What was it? Anybody know offhand like what the Inquisition line count was?
Not a clue.
Yeah.
I know Biofan would know that one, but I don't know Inquisition as much.
From from Dragon Age. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I can't remember. I just saw it too the other day because I just actually started replaying that game. It was a lot, like you said, a lot.
Yeah. And that's the neighborhood. So I like, again, not wanting to reveal too much about things in process or something like that.
Right, of course.
A lot, and definitely on a scale that I had never worked in a game ever.
Okay.
And even with Frida's extensive resume, she would probably say the same, which is that, sometimes we come in, most of the time we come in for 1 session, maybe 2 if we're lucky. I did 3 days on Watch Dogs because we were matching to pictures and all sorts of stuff.
Okay.
And the people, Lisa Gassoir and Wes Gleason, who were directing me for those things, and the writers, kept bringing me back, and they were absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. It was a treat to work on the original Watch Dogs. But to come in 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, like as many times as we've come in over the past over a year now, that's special.
Oh yeah,
definitely. That's a real treat. I got some stuff on the horizon that that'll be coming out whenever, and it was cool. It was awesome. It was amazing. It was 1 day.
Okay, very cool.
And it's done. Yeah.
Well, in the interest of time, this is going to be my last main question. I'm going to turn it over to Tucker. I think he has 1 or 2 more, and then after that, we've got a couple of community questions.
I'll try to keep it tight.
Okay. My last main question for you is this role or this character for you? Is this something that you're going to kind of try and personify with yourself? Are you going to kind of, as Mark has done? Some of the other casts have not, where he'll put out things as Commander Shepard. Do you feel like you're that attached to this Ryder character? Do you feel like you've embodied the character enough to be able to respond to fans maybe when the trilogy is over, if this is a trilogy? I'm not sure if they've said that or not, or this game is over, whatever the case may be. As Ryder, you're going to be able to answer questions like this, or do you still need more time to kind of figure out everything about Ryder?
I think I might be able to. It's more of I mean, I kind of already am. It's like, am I going to hitch my wagon to this star? I guess.
That's a great line.
And yeah, and I am. Not to say that that's like what Mark was doing.
Of course.
In any way, he's having fun with it, and I have too. So probably. Now, will I show up to a convention in the outfit? I don't know.
We got to get you and Mark to do that. Come on, you guys go to Dragon Con together, something like that.
Right,
Commander Shepard. I mean, we can get Frida in there. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Part of me does kind of want to do that. That sounds like fun, but at the end of the day, it's like, I'm also a dad with like 2 kids and stuff. Let's have some perspective.
They're young enough right now, right? They're not gonna notice their dad dressing up in weird costumes.
Oh no, they're gonna know. They're gonna know right away. They know Dad does weird stuff for a living.
Yeah, right.
Something I was wondering is, how do your kids feel about the roles that you're in?
You know what? The only one that they are. Yes, yeah. Oh, my son loves Octodad, and every now and then, hey, Dad, do the sound when he's throwing something. Do the sound when he does this. He's played through it a bunch of times. So no, they get it, and I've got Octodad plushies, around here. But the Mass Effect stuff hasn't started showing up. I've got some T-shirts. I got my magazines, and I've got my hoodie. But I don't have stuff around the house yet, and we're kind of being, at least I am, definitely cautious about the game. I don't want to put too much into it because it has been an amazing experience working on this and working with the people that I've worked with. But the kids are fine. The kids know that Dad disappears into this box for.
Too, right?
They are too young for Mass Effect. Yes.
Unfortunately.
The only shooting they do is Splatoon. We're allowed to Splatoon.
That's a good game, actually. So
that is a fantastic game. So yeah, no shooting just yet. But they know the name. They know it's Dad goes and plays Space Cowboy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, Tucker, you've got the next couple of questions, and then when you're finished up, let me know. And then we'll ask a few of these community questions floating around the chat.
Yeah.
All right, I just got one last question, and it's if you could work on any game series besides the ones that you've already worked on, what series would it be?
It's a good one.
Classic one.
I don't know.
That's a very confident answer you got there.
Okay. See, the problem is a lot of the stuff that I adore is never coming back.
Let's just pretend it would, though.
Yeah, pretend it is. You got any options.
I would love to work on a new Wing Commander.
Oh, well, I mean, you kind of
Chris
can.
Roberts. I know.
Right?
It's on its way.
They got
it's
the
on
money.
Its way. They do, but they're bringing in Mr. Hamill and they're bringing back the all-star cast to put it together. But yeah, Wing Commander would be cool. I would love to work on anything with Tim Schafer.
Huh?
For Tim Schafer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like a Psychonauts redo?
Psychonauts and Grim Fandango,
It would be good
Full
if we could
Throttle.
get you and Josh Keaton together doing a Psychonauts. That would be great.
Oh gosh, yeah, Josh. You know what? I work so much in isolation that to work with anybody would be fantastic. And Josh would be fantastic. Having been outside of this particular fishbowl for so long, it is intimidating and amazing to be in Avengers now. And so I have to keep in mind, it's like as I audition or whatever, these people that I've watched and followed on Twitter for the longest time and whose work that I love and whose work I taught to students, they're auditioning for this too right now.
Yeah.
And you got to put that out of your mind and go to work. But at the same time, I ran into a year ago or whatever, Matt Mercer coming in to audition for something as I was on my way out. And Matt was talking to 2 other guys coming in with him, and I was finishing up. And he looked at me. And there was this look in his eye that was, I know everybody in town. I don't know you. And so he approached me and just he approached me and said, "Hey, how you doing, Matt?"
He's a great
and I
guy,
had to
man.
I had to stop myself from going, I know exactly who you are. I follow you on Twitter. Can you sign And I was just like, oh, hey, Tom, it's nice to meet you.
Not a big deal.
Yeah, and so there's that kind of thing happening all the time.
Definitely.
All the time. And you just lock that down and go to work because they're here to go to work too.
Oh yeah.
They just got here first, So yeah. So
That's
probably
awesome.
anything Tim Schafer would be.
Okay. Very cool.
No, something I was just thinking of as well is you do a lot, like all of your voice work is for video games. Have you ever thought of doing any work for animated shows or anything like that?
Just commercials.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But-
Well, Chicago's a commercial town. Commercial, industrials, things like that. And one of the reasons I moved to California with my family was to access a wider variety of work
Right.
because of changes in the industry. And yeah, I've had a lot of video game stuff, and that's because it was there and accessible. Animations are harder nut to crack. I think if you look at circles, there's a good-sized circle of people in video games, and then that circle gets smaller when it comes to animation. They use the same, handful of people for so many things. And you really have to either have something amazing or stand out or something to break into that thing. So I'm auditioning. That'd be great. Sure. I've had good fortune in the video game space, perhaps because I just understand it more, perhaps because of my acting background that lends itself more to that.
Okay.
If you think of like, a video game, it's more like a stage, like a staged play. A lot of animation, not all of it, but a lot of animation is more like a musical. Right. I've done musicals, but I just haven't hit my head against that wall, often enough, I guess. Found that one little thing that clicked. There's something that Caroline heard when my audition. I still don't know what it is, but she heard something when that audition came through the offices of BioWare.
We'll ask. We'll ask her. She's going to be on our show at some point.
Oh, rock and roll. Yeah. Oh, I love her. I love working with her. And so something clicked there. I'd love to, of course. That's why I'm here.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Tucker, do you have fan questions set up, or do you want to take like an alternating thing with me here? Okay, perfect. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying. I was just looking at the thread of the video.
Okay.
Seeing a few of them in there.
All right, cool. Tom, the way these work, these are thinking of them as the lightning round in the video game. Short, couple sentence responses. We'll bang a few of these out, and then we'll have you do the intro for the show, for the post YouTube, and then we'll let you get out of here because I think we got like 10 minutes left.
Couple sentences from me. Good luck. Good luck.
First one comes from Solrulux. They want to know which did you prefer in Mass Effect, the original trilogy, FemShep or Male Shep? Obviously, I'll put a disclaimer on there for them. This will not show any bias towards Mark or Hale. It's just you personally. Which one did you enjoy playing more as the character?
I played through the entire trilogy as female Shepard.
Okay.
FemShep.
All right. Tucker, you want to take the next one?
J2ANAE asks, what is your favorite race in the Mass Effect universe?
Krogan.
That was very quick.
Wow.
Krogan.
Any particular reason?
I like their spin on. I like the Mass Effect spin on Klingons. You know what I mean? The Krogan are Mass Effect Klingons.
You don't think that the Turians are?
No. Turians are a little Vulcan-esque, I would think, in some ways.
Yeah.
But I just like the Krogan. I just like the idea of, these, and I like the kind of the sad tragedy of the race, and then you just, I love Urdnot Rex.
So you don't,
Nice.
you didn't pick
Elcor character.
Or no,
so you didn't pick Elcor for their amazing vocal range or anything like that?
No. I loved. I loved all the stuff that they created. I loved those races and things like that, and it's how clever that stuff was. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Krogans.
Krogan's a good choice. This next one comes from Jessica on Twitter. They want to know which should they try and play through first, Paragon or Renegade as male Ryder?
Doesn't exist.
Yeah, there's no Paragon or Renegade.
There's no Paragon or Renegade. The choices are a little grayer.
A little grayer? Okay.
So it might be. I mean, you could play it through kind of like thinking one way or the other.
Of course. Okay.
But even those choices aren't as good guy, bad guy, or good guy, chaotic, neutral guy.
Okay.
And so I think it's more nuanced, and you could do very subtle playthroughs, so it makes for a much more interesting character. Or you could just go, you know what, I'm gonna hit this direction the whole game, see how that turns out.
Okay, well there you go. Tucker, go ahead.
Soralux asks, what is your favorite Mass Effect character? And let's take away Shepard, so you can't. And no Ryder. You can't select Ryder either.
Yeah, myself, obviously.
So, favorite Mass Effect character?
Erdnot Rex. Yep.
Man, you're really with those Krogan.
He's whoever voiced him did a great job as well. I don't know who did that, but I really should, considering
Rex.
Considering my show, right? Interview voice
Rex
actors.
Rex was voiced by Stephen Barr.
Stephen Barr.
And I've also tried to find information about him to interview and whatnot.
Nope.
I cannot find any information about manager contact or anything.
Well,
sure.
Well, that's crazy. Well, I'll help you track him down. We're pretty good at that. Okay. All right. Next question. This one comes from really just our community in general, the Codec community. We like to ask this one to all of the voice actors on the show. If you could have the entire script for a character, get all of the backstory, know everything about the character, or on the flip side, do all of your recordings with anybody that was actually in the scene with you, which one would you prefer? They're both great choices, but if one of these changes happened in the industry first, whether you be getting the script first and getting the backstory, or you recording, which one would you like to have happen first in the game?
I don't need the script. I don't need the script. No, somebody else there.
Somebody else.
That'd be really cool. Like to have worked with PB. That'd be awesome. Liam. Wait till you guys find out about Liam. No, I loved anytime we got some of his stuff. It just made stuff pop, and I was like, oh, this is this relationship. I got it. Not that it wasn't in the writing to begin with, but just his spin on it and everything. It's awesome.
Tucker.
That was really all the questions that I had. I was reading from the side chat.
Okay.
Here.
I've got a couple left on Twitter that we'll take. Let me check our time. We got enough for probably like 2 more. So if you find another one, let me know. This one comes from Alex on Twitter. He wants to know, was there anything in the Mass Effect Andromeda script, without spoiling anything, that really shocked you or caught you off guard, that made you stop in the booth?
No, but there were things that made me stop when I finished the scene, and I'd said to the director on a couple times, I said, could you send this up the chain at BioWare? That was awesome. I loved that sequence.
Okay.
My compliments to the writer. That was just a pleasure. That was a pleasure to perform. It's smart. It's awesome. Thank you.
Awesome.
I think that alone really kind of helps me, and I'm sure the person asking the question as well, that you have a person that's a fan of the Mass Effect games, being kind of taken back by some of the new stuff. That was really one of the swirling kind of controversies, is can the game live up to the trilogy? And it's good that it obviously has some moments in there that shocked or kind of made an impression on somebody who's already a fan of the trilogy. So that's great to hear.
Oh yeah, the writing is still top notch. No, don't you guys worry about that. It's awesome. It's wonderful. Pleasure.
Great. All right, Tucker, did you find any more? Or should we take this last one on Twitter?
There's one question that's always big around MassEffectFollower that I bring up with every new writer and video editor, everything, is what does Mass Effect mean to you?
This is going to be deep. I'm going to cut the music.
No. Yeah, I know. You fade the music up.
Yeah,
get me off stage.
Music's off. All right. It's dead silent in here now.
It means one of my favoriteest jobs I've ever had. It means an amazing, inclusive community, not just as a developer, but as a fan community. You guys have been fantastic. It also means the series of games that's been with me, like everybody else, for 10 years, 2 houses, 2 kids, and all of that combined. It's just always been there. That first Mass Effect is amazing. It was a wonderful game, wonderful experience. So all of that stuff together is Mass Effect, and I am honored and having a ball being able to play and participate in it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tom. I definitely appreciate having you on. So before we wrap up, was there anything else from you, Tucker, that you had?
No, that was all. It was...
Awesome. Tom?
Sir.
Is there anything that you would like to say to all of the communities watching? As you may have noticed, Tucker is from a community called MassEffectFollower. Big YouTube guys breaking down all of the trailer analysis, all that kind of stuff. My community, which is the voice actor community, we behind every voice actor that we can get behind, bringing them on the show, kind of spotlighting you guys, and just the gaming community in general. Anything you'd like to say to them?
To MassEffectFollower and everybody of that ilk, thanks for mistaking me for Mr. Nolan North. That was sweet of you. And Troy, somebody said Mr. Baker too. That was very sweet of you.
Oh, goodness.
And thank you guys for your fandom and for how just great you guys have been to me and Frida, and the Mass Effect team in general. You guys have been awesome and so inclusive and wonderful, which is kind of like what Mass Effect's about, right?
Oh yeah.
Relationships and inclusivity, and and so thank you guys for being awesome. Thank you guys for having me, and I look forward to playing the game with you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Tom. Before we let you go, as I mentioned, we'd like to shoot the intro for the show now. So if you could give us this is Scott Ryder and you're watching the Codec, I'd definitely appreciate it.
Ready to roll?
1 second. All right, go for it.
This is Scott Ryder, and you are watching the Codec.
Thank you so much, Tom. Before I disconnect with you out of here, I asked Frida, I don't know if you saw, but we'd like to have you and her on the show after Andromeda launches. I think we're going to aim for the second week, give everybody a chance to play it for a week, and then at the end of the second week, we'd like to have you and her on the show. I'm going to try and get the voice director on as well, and we just like to have a chat with all three of you guys. It's something that we do here on our show. We have the dual interviews. We did the Soul Survivors from Fallout 4. Anyone that has like a male and female playable character, we'd like to have them on the show just to talk about everything. So if you're interested, she said she's definitely interested. If you're interested, we'd like to have you on with her after Andromeda launches. Is that
absolutely. Yeah, awesome. Absolutely. And it'll be a different conversation. We'll have a lot more that we can discuss.
We can talk about spoilers finally.
I know.
All right, So perfect. We'll get in touch with you on Twitter, make the arrangements for that. I'd like to thank you for coming on the show. I'd like to thank Tucker from MassEffectFollower for coming on the show. Tom, tell everybody watching where they can kind of keep up to date with you. We have your Twitter listed right below. If you guys are looking at the screen, underneath this Mass Effect Andromeda picture right here is Tom's Twitter. It's @Taylorson. Do you have like a Facebook, website, anything like that where people can kind of keep up to date on what you're doing?
Yeah, I got a Facebook dedicated page. I think it's Tom Taylorson Voice or Tom Taylorson Voiceover. I'd have to look it up. That's usually a lot more audiobook related because that's got kind of more churn insofar as, this is happening, that's happening. @Taylorson is probably the absolute best way to find out what's going on a day-to-day basis, which is not much, to be very honest. But, you can find out that I enjoy Hearthstone or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Or disappointed.
You on that Hearthstone match I'm challenging.
I know. Yeah. So, yeah.
If somebody wanted to check out one of your audiobooks, they would go to where to check that out?
Best place to go is to Blackstone Audio. They have their own little portal for everything at downpour.com. That's DOWNPOUR.com. And just search for my name, Tom Taylorson, and everything I've done with them will pop up. They're the only place that I've worked with for audiobooks for the past however many years, and I am forever grateful to that team over there. They have been wonderful to work with, and they keep sending me books, so I might not be half bad at this.
Right? Exactly. Well, anything that we can do to support you, we definitely love to. So we'll go ahead and check that out. Again, thank you, Tom, for being on the show, man. You've been a great guest. We're going to let you get out of here. Have a great rest of your day today, and we look forward to seeing you in Mass Effect Andromeda. We'll be in touch. Tucker, you want to say goodbye to Tom?
Yeah, bye, Tom.
Thank you to the Mass Effect follower audience here, the people from Mass Effect Guardian, and the people from the Codec. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Codec. Tom, Tucker, you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to both of you soon.
Yep. Have a good day, everyone.
Bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that about wraps up our interview with Tom Taylorson, with our special co-host, Tucker from the Mass Effect Follower. Give him a follow. It's N7Follower, at N7Follower on Twitter. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope we got you just a little bit of that sweet, sweet Mass Effect Andromeda news so that you guys can stay tied over until the release of Mass Effect Andromeda next year. Thank you so much for watching the Codec. Please, if you would like to support us, consider giving us a follow. There's a blue button right here on Hitbox where you can give us a follow and stay up to date on when we go live. We interview voice actors every single week, and we would love to have you back for our next voice actor interview. If you missed our interview with Freda Wolf, you can check that out on our YouTube channel. It's at Nation Fusion on YouTube. You can go to youtube.com/ user or U or C, whatever, Nation Fusion. You can also type in Nation Fusion, or you can type in the Codec and you should be able to see our videos. There's a playlist so you guys can track those down fairly easily on YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter to be updated anytime that we go live. It's at @the_Codec on Twitter. And if you'd like to support us in a different way, you can financially do so by visiting www.paypal.me/thecodec. If you would like to leave a donation, we would definitely appreciate that. It helps keep our show running, help keeps our equipment in tip-top shape, and it helps us eat food at night. You can also consider becoming a subscriber if you'd like to. That's $4.99, and that is the green button here on Hitbox. You're accessible to different subscriber emojis and icons, as well as exclusive interviews for subscribers only that happen once a month. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and we will see you next week on the Codec.